today. It's crashed 4 times on me in one day, and I have no idea why.
You on the new OS?
Alright, so we want to make sure that it's not set up on the camera.
They have to put me on this chair so that I'm not higher than everybody else.
Okay.
Because I'm so tall.
Yes, you are.
Okay, talk away, G.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Welcome, everybody, to the podcast. Today we're going to be talking about bullshit, because that's what we do.
How come your iPad's cracked?
This is my wife's iPad.
She likes Spider-Man, which is nice.
Well, when these two are closed, she needed some way to differentiate between our iPads, because we have the same cover, and it's metal on the back.
Okay.
So she had these Spider-Man stickers for when she taught music.
Nice.
To give to kids. And so she stuck them on here, and she's like, well, if I have those, I have to find the Spider-Man wallpaper, right?
Nice.
Check. Hey, guys, welcome to This Hour Has...
It's looking pretty good.
Yeah. It has the knitting website up on it.
No, we don't even need headphones tonight, which is...
Yeah, it's always nice when we have everybody in the same room. We don't have to...
Wearing headphones for an hour... I don't know, other people can do it, I can't seem to.
There's a bathroom down here too if you need to.
No, I'm good.
So you need a chair.
I feel left out. I don't have.
There
I
we go.
don't have a shirt.
Well, if you keep going on the podcast every week.
Yeah, there you
If
go.
you move to Almont, you're good to go.
Yeah, exactly.
True.
True. If you move to Almont, spend every Monday night. The next step is, of course, to get promotion patches, like one from the pub,
Right.
one from the...
I like it.
See, you open up a game store, you sponsor us, right? We go to all the major cons with your shit on, so people can order online from you.
Yeah.
So just to go over it, the intro, there's the PP news is going to be War Room, because that's like fucking all that's happened. And weeks since the release of Devastation, just an idea. And then talk about factions, difference between Horde and War Machine.
Yep.
Is one more powerful than the other? So the answer is no.
Yeah, I know.
Shut up.
Yeah.
No, actually you should have whatever your
That's
actual
actually
opinion
sort of
is.
the rip from the forums thing, because the first... like one of the things that comes up on the forums all the time is... Fuck Hordes. It's so much more powerful. Fuck War Machine. It's so much more powerful. And the reality is, you're a new player. You've lost a bunch of games to a bunch of Hordes players. And you haven't figured out how to...
That's
the answer.
But how does playing different factions help you in tournaments? And then we're going to go into the round table, which is how many factions have you played? What have you learned about it? And then questions, lightning round, that kind of stuff.
Okay. Was there a spot about describing all the different factions?
Yeah. So we're gonna go. We're basically the main segment's going to be. We're gonna go around. So Jason's gonna describe Legion, and then I'm gonna give him like 2-3 minutes to give a basic overview of what's Legion-y about Legion.
Okay.
And then we'll add some.
You can't give 3 or 4 minutes.
No.
Not if we want to get through 11 factions.
No, trust me on this one. I've got it timed out. So basically, he's going to have 2 minutes to go through what's Legion-y about Legion, and then we'll move over to G. You can talk about COC and what's COC about COC. Then we'll move. You can talk about Crix. Then I'll do Circle. Then we'll just keep rotating through. Jason's unfortunately only going to really be able to lend
Legion.
So you might want to describe Legion.
Unfortunately.
Jason. Describe Legion so that, like, for what if I was going to play Legion, what should I be interested in?
Just an aggressive game with lots of movement shenanigans and ignoring a lot of terrain. Pathfinder, out of sight.
You should be talking about out of sight, what it gives you. Like, it ignores terrain, it ignores stealth. You should be describing that it's a war beast heavy faction, and that it's a combined arms faction with a low attack count. So you have to make your attacks count.
They're also like the most ranged faction.
Nope.
Really?
Nope.
For
for Hordes.
That's what I mean.
Yes.
I was going to say for Hordes.
Yes.
They're the most ranged faction. I mean, we're going to talk about it. We're going to go through the War Machine factions, then we'll go through the Hordes. Because first we're going to talk about the difference between War Machine and Hordes. That's tier 1.
Yeah.
So I'm a new player. I want to hear. Like, I want to decide what I want to play, so we describe the difference between War Machine and Hordes.
Remember, you can also
and then we're just going to blitz through the different factions.
So you don't have to lean
and
in.
that'll probably be most of the show, to be honest with you. And then we're going to talk about, that's for basic players, but for older players, what is it? Why is it good to play all these? Why should you run out and play them all?
Okay.
Are we streaming yet?
Cool.
Yes.
We got 20 minutes, really.
Then we need you to check the stream. And, of course, make sure that, there's not people screaming at us that our levels are fucked. They will anyway, but usually we have to wait until we're started.
How many followers do you usually have on the chats?
Usually, 8 to 15?
Yep.
Depends
That's
on the night
good.
and what we're talking about, yeah.
Oh.
And then right now, the podcast we're getting about 100 downloads a week on the cast. Which,
And now that we've got
nice.
enough background, I'm going to talk to John about getting it on the Muse network. He's already offered. It's just a matter of doing it.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, we wanted to make sure we had,
I wanted to make sure that we had a back catalog, so that we didn't show up. It's like, oh, look, it's episode 1. They never post again.
Yeah.
Not like Arcane Assist, Tim.
Or win condition.
I wouldn't be so pissed if his podcast wasn't so good, because I want more episodes of it.
Tim's podcast is kind of weird because you have some episodes where you're like, then you got like episodes where Tim really describes like, here's the philosophy behind
this
it's
particular
like,
type of guest.
That is really good.
Yeah.
Well, just listening to Tim, like he's been doing a few stits on Remove from Play, and just listening to Tim talk about War Machine is just like insightful, right? So
can't wait for this foo.
Yeah, I'm actually going this year.
Are you?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, because my wife is no longer pregnant.
That's
good
convenient.
Stuff.
Yeah.
Sucks when they're pregnant for like 3 years in a row.
Just 2.
It's like those little dudes trapped in my fallout shelter. They just, they've been pregnant for the last 6 months.
Oh, have you not gotten that bug fix?
No. Because now I'm full. So they just walk around.
They can never.
I had to remove all the men from all the rooms and all the women from all the rooms. I'm like, oh shit.
What are you talking about?
There's a game called Fallout Shelter that runs on iPads. And it has a limit, a population limit, a hard population limit.
Mm-hmm.
But what they don't do is stop. No, you can breed the little people so that you could get more people. But when you hit the population limit, anybody who is pregnant stays pregnant because you can't spawn anything new into the system.
So that's what's happening in my house. My house isn't big enough to have babies. So June's has been pregnant for the last 5 years. At least she acts like it. I mean, hello, honey. She doesn't listen to this shit.
I was gonna say the only person who might listen to this by mistake would be Becky
or Marla. Marla's listened to it a couple times.
She watches it.
Marla is
my wife.
His wife upstairs with the kid.
Oh yes.
She actually enjoys having a podcast. She's a giant nerd like us, so she enjoys having a podcast coming out of her basement.
She's a what now?
Giant nerd.
No. Yes. Yeah. That's why the PlayStation was open.
Yeah. Yeah, and the bookshelf is filled with nerdy stuff in the living room.
Oh, I did not
Her
notice.
dad comes over and is like, "You guys grow up yet?" Nope.
Physically or
did you want to put up that splash screen?
Yes.
Other than our smiling faces, but
I prefer to have the splash screen also because it helps me with the edit.
That's true. Actually, if you leave the splash screen up, and you can actually hit record tonight, that'd be great.
Okay, cool.
What happened last time?
Oh, last time was a shit show because I forgot my laptop, so we had to use my backup laptop, which is a shit ball. So we were running. We had all the best sound, but the video was running off a webcam, so we had about 2 frames per second.
It was
Oh my
People
god.
were like, "Why is your stream so fucking laggy?" It's like, no, it's
I didn't even bother putting it on Reddit because I was like, fuck, all we're gonna get is people shitting on it.
yeah.
Oh,
Even more than usual.
I have
And we had Party
2
Foul on.
units of blood.
Love you, Party Foul.
The Tharn.
Reddit does it.
The
Oh,
male
yeah.
Tharn with the bows.
Okay.
Do you want them?
Sure. Well, I will ask the wife. I'm not playing the circle, right? Beck's playing it.
Which
Yeah.
one is
So,
The
You
2
might
units
want 'em.
with the Tharn with the bows. They are called.
somebody open War Room. It'll only be an hour before you know.
No, mine's actually pretty fucking fast. Blood packs. I got 2 units of blood packs.
What would you need 2 units of blood pack for?
Kaya 2, man.
Oh.
Kaya 2's list is generally 2 units of
If
blood
you don't
packs.
sell
and
it by
thorns.
next month, we'll talk. But
when you have money
I
again.
spent all my money on some circle models I got this month.
Really? Oh man.
My wife put me on a very, very strict budget
for models.
Well, my wife
everything.
actually walked into my Geeks dungeon and went, "Oh fuck this! I have like a complete Trolls army, a complete Legion army, a complete Mercs army, a complete Crix army," and she's like, "There's no more space." I'm like, "I could put a shelf there."
That's why you have to start buying those the glass shelves from IKEA.
I have one.
No, but just keep putting them one for each army, just next to each other.
No, they don't fit in.
Okay.
I'm a completionist. Like I have 30 Bane Knights, 40 Mechana Thralls, 24 fucking Bane Thralls. It's
Yep.
my Crix army is like
Holy
there's
fuck.
a wall in my basement. It's all over the wall.
You cricked all over the wall.
I Crixed all over the wall and Crixed harder too.
I'm still trying to decide. Jay's
Wow.
won. Yay!
Oh, good for
Jays.
them.
Good for the
So
Good for
that,
the local sporting team that has
go
sported
local
harder.
sports team and or college.
You have
Sports go
sported
sports.
harder than everybody else can sport.
Yay for you.
Well, no. See, the problem
Since
is
a few
you
of our
need to be
viewers are
aware of
from
it
Toronto.
just on a general point of view because now they're going to keep doing it. There'll be more sport.
Yeah, it's
What?
gonna be a big deal because this is
Oh.
the first thing Canada's been good at in a while.
We have the Montreal Canadiens.
That's a hockey team.
That's a hockey team. They don't do that well, dude.
And
We have the Senators.
this is-
They never. You're a completionist. Think of it this way: they never finish what they started.
Yeah, neither do I.
I finished
We have the
Convergence.
Maple Leafs, but even I know they
Yeah.
suck.
Apparently the worst team in the league.
Yeah.
They take pride in their suckitude.
Yeah.
Sorry, all.
Oh, we have a viewer.
Yay!
I'm
Yay,
And he left because
viewer.
he's from Toronto. He's like,
Fuck these guys.
Oh yeah, can we swear on this podcast or no?
Yes.
Oh, fuck yeah.
no.
Okay.
Oh wait, yeah.
I have no fucking clue what I'm doing. That is a really long light bulb.
Yeah.
I'm
Thanks for making me look at
I'm
it.
really hoping
It is.
that
I hope it doesn't count.
I'm really hoping that Russ gets totally addicted to playing Signar, and
He seems to be doing pretty well.
he's
Who's
doing
Russ?
very well.
Russ.
Russ is Almont meta guy. He was
He
the one
helped
manning the
me.
computer at Blood and Iron.
Yeah. Bald head.
Doesn't he play Syra?
Yeah.
He did, yeah.
What happened to the did
He
part?
just didn't- Yeah, he...
What happened was I'm not going to be playing my Signar for the next foreseeable future because it's either Cephalix or Circle for the next year at least because
Yeah.
I've got too much of that shit to not play it.
Yeah.
And then Signar, I can Signar pretty darn Signary, and
Yeah.
I'm pretty solid. So I'm like, fuck this shit. We're just gonna retire it. It's gonna come out of the battle bag. It'll sit on the shelf. And then I kept watching Russ lose with Retribution of Syrah, and because he doesn't have the models to create a good list. And I'm like,
That
here are all
and
the
they are
models,
really hard.
and here are 2 fucking lists. So
And now he's playing those lists and just stomping face all
Yeah.
over the place.
What's he playing?
right now he's been Kane 2ing pretty,
Oh yes.
Striker.
which is awesome in battle boxes because if you lose, it's because everything went right until the very last minute. I walked him through.
Like when he ran away from me with Kane, and I'm like, no, you jump forward and you kill all my shit. You don't run away and then get charged by my immortal.
Well, he and I played.
He's
He
used
and I
to
play-
having to run casters away
Yeah.
from things.
Yeah.
He and I played a game this week, and I built the list for him. He and I played against each other, and we got to that point where he's on the hill, and I'm like, dude, I just fucked up, and he's like, what do you mean? It's like, you don't even have to gate crash to me. I am standing right there. You can move 3 inches and assassinate me. And he's like, oh. Oh yeah, and I'm like, and you're gonna get everything. You're gonna live the dream. Ayana is right there. There's a ranger right fucking there. You're about to live the fucking dream, buddy.
Live the dream!
Oh dear.
That shit never happens to me, motherfucker.
That's because you play against good people.
Yeah.
It's because you look across the table and I look across the table and I'm like, well, that has to die, then that has to die, then
Yeah.
that has to die. Then I put my caster in that corner and try and kill the rest of your army.
Oh, you missed a solid megalith fucking everything up again.
Oh yeah?
Megalith waffled 2. So
Because stones can't roll 8.
we
know that.
He
He
scored.
can't roll 9s.
He scoring pretty hard. Pulled up, missed out on his assassination run, left Megalith beside Balder, sitting between 3 stones. I'm like, fucking sweet. Here it comes. So first mistake I made was I should have had Balder cast
Weight of Stone or
no. Is it Weight of Stone?
Weight of Stone is his weapon.
Oh, it's on hit. Okay.
No. The +2 strength, -1 speed, +2 defense.
Stone Skin.
Stone Skin. Bonus. I should have had him do that, but I moved him up and just didn't think about it. And then teleported Megalith in. Then I had to Geomancy that on because his defense was ridiculous and I needed that bonus. Got the first hit, so I'm at -3 defense now, but I'm sitting on, I want to say, 5 more hits I can do on this.
Yeah.
I rolled double ones the next one.
Oh,
nice.
So now I'm sitting on 3. He's got 2 transfers. And then I've hit the third attack and roll 3 ones for the or like 2 ones for the damage. It was just like,
hurts small.
fuck you, Megalith! This is what's been happening every time I play
Megalith
Megalith.
has been just screwing the pooch on this for a while now.
Well, for a while. Since Morehouse.
Morehouse screwed it for everybody. Suddenly Megalith is the worst model in the game. I don't know.
I would really laugh if Morehouse would actually contact you and going like, fuck you guys. You realize I lost a WTC on that knowing. Fuck you.
You guys lost a game at the pub and you're comparing yourselves to me?
I'm totally sending this to Morehouse. We were talking shit about you at the beginning of the game.
No, I'm so excited for the Journeyman to end because I'm not going to be here for the final round. So I'm excited for the Journeyman to end, only to see if people can try to catch up with me on points when it all comes down to it. Because it's going to be like a blitz.
Well,
there's not that many people playing the fucking Journeyman at the FDB. I'm like, I'm here. Hey, do you have 50 points? Yeah, sure.
It's too bad in Almont that's all we play.
Yeah.
We
that and the Wizards.
the tower, yeah.
Tower's
If you go to
fucking
if
insane.
you go to the tower on Sunday, like for the why I'm at the top is for the first 2 weeks I went to the tower on Sunday because I was there so that people could have games, and then I went to the pub on Monday, and I got in 10 games in 2 days, like when we were playing like 15 points, right? And then I got in like 6 or 7 when we were playing 25, and it's like it's really hard to not score when you're not an idiot and you're playing 7 games in a row, right?
Well, that, and you get to learn your army.
Yeah, and it's so great to do it. Yeah. But I'm excited to get back and be able to go back to 50-point games and be able to build real circle lists without like, okay, so I can't do that. And you know what? I played Bradigus and it was, as everybody says, super fucking boring to play.
It's so fucking tedious.
It's just boring. It's just a really boring game.
Powerful as fuck, but it's
powerful
really
as shit. But you are not a one-trick pony. You've got a bunch of tricks, but it's like the trick is you're always trying to do the same thing, and it's however your opponent answers you. It's waiting for them to.
So how do you take it apart?
How do you what?
How do you take it apart?
Take apart Bradigus?
Yeah.
Kill stones.
Yeah.
Or have something that can see through forests.
So kill stones and have out of sight, or like.
No, it's you need fast flanking units.
Okay.
The biggest problem.
It's like every time that I've played against Bradigus was with trolls, and I was always like, so I've got the NIST coming in this way, and I've got the borrowers going like this, and they just keep playing their game, and then it's like, oh, so the borrowers pop up. I'm just gonna stand there and aim, and I'm gonna destroy your 3 units of stones. Just boom, one stone.
If you take down the stones, the real problem with the Bradigus list, as I see it, is that half your fury management is your stones.
Oh yeah.
And like Bradigus doesn't do that much for fury management. He wants to be sitting on a giant stack of fury.
Because he's a large base.
He's a large base. He needs it, and he's part of your assassination vector. So you put all that together. The last thing you really want to be doing is spending all your focus so that you can take it back next round. So the problem is if you take out the stones, you start really messing with his fury management,
and he has to start.
Yeah. The problem is most people try to take out the tree, the little stick dudes, to try to stop the trees from popping up. It's like those guys are gonna. There's enough because you start with 3 rage on each one.
Yeah.
So they're gonna keep that's 3 turns worth of putting forest down. Right? Yeah. You're solid, and you'll always keep popping a new one in. So there's that sort of like. I would say you're bang on. You need to flank, and then he can't do anything, especially if he's just going to play it like a standard Bradigus and brick up. There are better ways to play it. If you're playing a good Bradigus player, he's not going to do that if you've got 2 fast units. He's going to have 2 sets of sticks sitting on either side to create forests and to try to take out those.
But then you have the middle, and that's what, like, even when Morehouse talks about playing Bradagus, he's always like, yeah, at one point you just do not have enough of a forest wall to, like, against Convergence, you're just pretty much fucked. Like, I'd be playing Aurora into him, because it would be like, everything is easy to hit. Everything's easy to avoid. Yeah. I have flight, so I don't. It's you just protect your angels until you're ready to go. Like, okay, you're far enough forwards that I can just assassinate you now.
To be honest, what I really want to do over the next 6 months, anyway, is play my own lists. Yeah. Try to build my own synergies. I listening to No Country for Old Men. The problem that Morehouse keeps pointing out is everybody's playing his lists or Pagani's lists. Nobody's really experimenting things, and there's a good bundle of casters there that aren't getting played.
That's not true. You should talk to Paul Campbell. But you're right. Like on the international scenes, you're absolutely right. But like Paul Campbell, do you know him?
Yeah. I know Paul.
Okay. He comes up with the weirdest shit.
But that's what I mean. That's what I want to do as well. I look at what Paul's doing and
well, his Cray double
is so good. My God, have you seen his epic Baldur list?
No.
It can tank like a mother. Yeah. It's Baldur and 2 units of posse and other stuff, and you're just
question from the forum already, or the chat.
What you got?
What is it?
Glorp. Hey Glorp.
Glorp.
Glorp says, I feel like every time I've seen Bradagus lose, it's because it really doesn't do that much damage to super high armor stuff, and then loses on scenario once he's out of stones.
No, I would say that's legit. Also, super high defense is a problem, because if you can't get synergy...
No, you can always get synergy with pushes.
Yeah.
True.
You can always get synergy with pushes.
That's the Syntherian trick I learned.
Yeah.
Is that you don't need arms for a push.
No.
So all those
galvanizers,
all those mitigators that you're like, well, I'm going to shoot with it this turn, but let's feat and just push everything once.
And then shoot.
Because they're not going to spontaneously die from a push, so you can have 2 or 3 guys push a model.
To be honest, what I'm going to do for the next probably 2 months is become the most dedicated P. Kaya player ever.
I fucking love P. Kaya.
I think she's just... I mean, yes, she's a total generalist. But on the other hand, she doesn't get played because everybody gets her in the battle box. But she just makes everything so fucking good.
But you know she's an amazing Crix drop, right?
Yeah.
It's like I used to play her with like a wall of druids, so you can't see past. Like it sucks against Legion. And then 2 units of stones. And then an Argus. And people would be like, why the fuck do you have an Argus? Because you put the Argus's Animus on the Stalkers, they warp for Berserk, and Crix players always leave a nice little spot, and it's like, port the Argus there. Not the Argus, well, the Stalker there, and I have 360 vision, and I go Berserk.
Kill all the
It was so cool. I miss Circle.
From the forums today?
I've sort of... There's really no topics tonight. I think we'll just focus on... We're doing
we may already be podcasting.
Yeah.
We got 3 minutes.
Yeah.
We're pretty tight on the time.
Yeah.
Just so that we can get it in under an hour.
Cool.
Pretty tight. Although last week I think we were only 3 minutes over.
Once we cut all the crap out of the front and back.
All right.
Taken out of context.
It's recording now.
Oh.
Yay!
I remember to hit record.
See if you run me out of space. I haven't finished cutting I haven't finished cutting up the...
So what I'd like you to do...
stuff from CGX.
What I'd like you to do is turn off the splash. Not now. Turn it off just as the song ends.
Okay.
For, like, the intro ends. That way that splash is up there when people first start watching the stream.
Okay, so which one's the actual? Is it podcast?
Oh, fucking life.
Probably the one I listed as podcast would be the podcast.
Yeah, just want to make sure.
That's my guess.
No, it's put the wrong thing.
No, that's actually
fired.
No, dude, that's actually a guess.
This is your
okay.
By the way.
Okay.
There you go. Do a test. There you go.
It's called podcast.
All right, sweet.
I thought so. No, I'm Dude, this
happens enough.
Well, yeah, but I fucking labeled them.
Yeah.
So podcast could have been the one that was supposed to be the podcast.
Okay.
The one that actually is the podcast. The one that was supposed to be the podcast but is no longer the
It might actually be the Blind People podcast.
Yeah, for all
Wait.
you know, it's going to show up with a big thing that says GTT behind you.
GT.
Get together with technology. Blind people teaching blind people how to use technology.
Sweet.
So,
Can they teach me?
actually, yeah, Kim could totally teach you how to use it.
Yeah, because I fucking suck.
All right, we are 1 minute away, folks. 1 minute away. How many people do we have
need
watching the
another beer.
stream tonight?
3 so far.
You need another beer? You going to kick it over this time?
There's
No, that was me. That was Will.
Oh. Will, you going to kick over his beer this time?
Oh, probably.
The wife broke a beer bottle here the other day too.
I bet you that's why they're all
That's
cleaned
why
up.
they got cleaned up.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
All right.
Yeah, I'll tell you a story of my college years with beer bottles later.
All right.
Oh shit!
So we're 8.
Open the beer bottle.
All right, Jason. Well, as soon as you crack that beer, hit that button.
Okay, priorities. All right, ready, Freddie?
Yep. Welcome to This Death Clock Has 60 Minutes, the explicit all War Mahords news podcast. It's 8 p.m. Wednesday night, and the Death Clock starts now. Hey guys, welcome to This Death Clock Has 60 Minutes. I am your host, the Miffed Gorax.
Semi-automatic.
And over there, Maelstrom. Maelstrom's running the stream, so if you have questions, comments, or concerns, if you're watching us live, he will make sure you get them. Today I'd like to introduce our special guest, the man known only as
Super
P.O.
Yes, also known as Noble Rain on the forums.
Sweet. We brought P.O. in this week because what we're going to focus on throughout the episode is we're going to do sort of a overview of all the factions. And then we're going to talk a bit about what we call, in our meta anyway, list ADD, which really...
Or faction ADD.
Faction
more
ADD, which is really...
exemplified.
Exemplified and really has become a problem. And the reason why we coined that term is because of you, P.O.
Yeah, I'm the expert on the subject.
Yeah. We'll get into that later, but first I think it's time to
yeah.
go into the news for this week. We've got some... It hasn't been a quiet weekend, and I think PP knows about our podcast now because they literally wait for about 10 minutes before we start broadcasting to tell us anything. What's the big news coming out of PP this week, George?
After the Devastation launch last week, which was just like a couple hours before the cast, everything has sort of been quiet. We've just again moments ago gotten information about the new release of War Room. We're hearing that there'll be a beta, 500 people for each of the different devices. So if you're an Android user or a Kindle user, you can probably get in pretty easy.
Yeah.
Us iOS users all have to roll the dice. And they're adding a bunch of stuff we've been asking for. They're adding tagging for lists. They're adding collection management. They're adding folders, apparently. And I hear, but this is unconfirmed, that Haley 3 will be in War Room.
Oh, good.
Oh
so
my
that
God.
complaint can stop happening once a week on this
Yeah.
Facebook page. I just bought War Room and I don't find Haley 3. So that's sort of the biggest news that came out today, and I think we're all pretty excited about it. You and I are huge advocates of using War Room. We tell all of our new players that's what you got to do. P.O., War Room?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's what I read before going to bed. I just pick a faction and go through it.
I do that camping. That's like instead of bringing books camping now, I just have my phone with
We know where else
casters.
you're using it.
Yeah,
too.
and the toilet. Yeah,
Yeah,
it
there.
is the best bathroom thing of all. I have had fallen asleep legs many
your
times.
legs
Oh god, yes.
All right, so that's one thing, but let's talk a bit. It's been a week since Devastation. We've had a chance to go through it. We now, have confirmed all the leaks that came out. Impressions. We'll start with you, P.O.
Well, one of the main armies I play is Trollbloods, so...
So you're happy.
Oh, God, yes. Doomy 3 is going to be interesting. I think it's going to have a shift in the meta. I don't think we're getting rid of evolutionary elementalism, which is Kalandra's theme force, anytime soon, but Doom E3 will probably edge out Doom Shaper 1 from Runes of War because you sort of need all the same tools. And it will allow for different builds for Doom E1.
Right, but we will see still a lot of miserable meat mountains out there and that kind of thing.
Oh, absolutely.
But it should shake up some people's lists and force us in some different directions, and that is going to have to come up with ways to deal with Doom E3.
Yeah, absolutely.
George, any impressions?
I like a lot of what I'm seeing in the book. I am more happy about the Gargantuans than I thought I was going to be. A lot of people seem to still be very down on them, but I'm always I like big stompy things. That's why I got into this game. And things like the Desert Hydra, now that I'm playing with Scorn, looks like it's going to be really neat if I can figure out how to deliver it, because it has got a mess of really powerful melee attacks, and like it's got some ranged capability, but the range capability really seems to be a clean myself off before I start beating on things with my melee style. So it's going to be really neat trying to deliver Desert Hydras to people's faces, because if you can pull that trick off, if you can get that Desert Hydra across the board, they're in some serious trouble.
And let's face it, it's such a gorgeous model.
Maelstrom, oh my God. We're going to go over to you. You must be pretty happy. Legion's had some interesting stuff.
Oh, that Blightbringer.
Blightbringer is going to be insane.
Jesus Christ.
I love that model.
It's going to be sick.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
We saw the actual, the model is out now.
Maybe the one model I like as much as Glacier King.
Yeah, the Glacier King is a gorgeous model.
So, I mean, you've got some cool things. I think Circle, we already saw our new caster. It's been played a lot. The tier list was kind of, although people are saying there are ways to do it, and Marc Andre will tell us otherwise in a week or so. And the Lightning Chicken seems, I don't know.
I can't wait to see its model.
Speed 7 Gargantuan with flight.
That's insanity.
That sounds like a lot of fun.
I think it's going to be the landing zones that's going to be a big issue. That's going to be tough
on the landing zones, but I mean, hey, that's a problem with
Janissa stock is going up. Because she needs to be there to get those walls down so there's no landing spot.
I will wait to make any comment until I actually see Marc Andre. I mean, any general player.
right.
Actually play it, and then I'll
put a Storm Chicken across that board.
When he's put a Storm Chicken across that board, and I can see what Great Circle players do. Any of the guys out there, when I see them actually play it, when we get some then we'll know. We'll know for sure.
Face it, as soon as Marc-André plays something, you know it's powerful. It's that simple.
He has a nose for that.
Oh, God.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to move right on. That's pretty much all the news that came out of this weekend. We're going to get right into our topic of the day, because this is a special edition. If it's your first time on the podcast, which we're hoping some of the people that are listening to this are our new listeners, because we're going to put this out as sort of a new listener podcast. What we're going to talk today is we're going to kind of do an overall view of the factions from some people that have some experience with the factions. And the way that we're going to do that is we're actually going to, instead of just going in through and naming all the factions one at a time and telling you what they are and talking about them a bit, what I want to start with is let's talk about the difference between War Machine and Hordes. So I'm going to go to PG Semi-Automatic Automagic first. Describe to me the mechanics behind War Machine.
So the mechanics that are different between the two systems in War Machine is mostly the focus mechanic. And the focus mechanic is centered around planning out a turn ahead of time. So when you are playing a War Machine faction, you have to look at your table state and decide how much you're willing to risk on your caster. And then at the beginning of the turn, you hand out focus to try and execute a plan while still retaining enough for your caster to either not die if you're camping focus or to cast the buffs and spells that they need to.
Right, so a lot of people would call that a resource management style.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right, so Pio, let's go to you. What is the difference if you're taking a look at the two systems, because they are very much the same when it comes to some of the basic rules, but what's the difference and what makes Horde sing differently?
Well, keywords would be risk management. Hordes is, instead of generating focus from your warcaster, you generate fury on your beasts, and then you have to leech that fury onto your warcaster, and that's how you use your spells and whatnot. So it's always gauging on how far can you push your beasts until they go frenzy. So if there's any fury remaining on your beasts, there's something called a threshold check, and your beast might just go cuckoo and just attack
whatever's next.
Whatever. Well, there's an order to it, but attack what's next to it. The other difference is that when you want to use your beasts, they have to be in your warlock's control area. So compared to War Machine, where you can just hand out your resources and then get the hell out of Dodge, your warlock has to be close to the action. And also a difference is the focus gives extra armor to your warcaster. Fury allows you to transfer damage to your war beasts.
Right. So again, more risk management. So
Absolutely.
So by keeping focus on a warcaster, you're giving yourself a defense bonus, which will always apply. Whereas as a warcaster, again, even when you're being attacked and you're getting rid of you're doing those transfers, that again is a risk management because it's shit. If I take this damage, then I'll have to take the next one, or I may not be able to transfer it, or whatever. So that's I think a good basic look at both systems.
So the aesthetics of the models.
Yeah, well, the aesthetics of the
True.
models. So let's talk about that. Maelstrom, you're more of a hobby guy. Tell me a bit about the difference between the two systems when it comes to the aesthetic of the models.
War Machine seems to be more focused on giant robots, and Hordes is more monsters and dragons and stuff like
Beasts versus Jacks.
Beasts
I mean,
versus
steampunk.
robots.
Really.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Beast versus Steam. You could argue that things like Cephalix or even Crix, for that matter, are not as Jack oriented, but they're still going to be metal augmented machine type dealios. Yeah. Whereas generally, other than maybe Minions, which have a little bit of some things plugged into them, they're
Minions not a faction.
beasts.
Oh, you want to go down that road?
Oh yeah.
So I mean, so we've talked a bit about those three things, but let's if I'm a new player and I'm coming to the game and I'm looking at it, this is, I think, to be our rip from the forums for this week. The most commonly asked question on the forums is, well, I wanted to get a new faction, but let's start at the very what should I choose? And instead of just saying, oh, go for this faction, it's the best. Let's talk a bit about the difference between the two main games and which type of player will enjoy. So I want you to defend the War Machine side, PG Semi-Automagic. If I'm a new player and I want to play War Machine, why would I want to play War Machine over Hordes?
War Machine is really great for the entire game. One of the big things about War Machine compared to Hordes is that the longer you can draw out a game, the better off you're going to be as a War Machine player, because over time you're going to have less jacks maybe to hand out the focus, but every time that happens, your Warcaster gets stronger. They're able to tank more damage. They're able to cast more spells. And you're across the table from a guy that every time you kill off one of his beasts, he's getting weaker and weaker. He can't pull that fury in to keep himself running. So if I'm a War Machine player, I want to take advantage of the fact that my attrition game is generally going to start to favor me as long as I can remove his beasts, his fury management. He's going to have to be more and more careful. That risk versus reward seesaw tends to tip toward risk way too quickly. And as a War Machine player, every turn I get all my focus back and I'm ready to go. I'm fresh as a daisy.
You're bat full power. So PO, defend Hordes. I'm a new player. What's so great about Hordes? Why do I want to play that faction?
It's hard.
Oh, come on.
No.
I want
It's
to make
easy.
72 attacks. I'll go play
It's-
Hordes.
There's just one thing that semi-automatic missed is War Machine has access to arc nodes.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, which again makes your caster safer. Hordes is I find that most newer players will enjoy Hordes more because it is more forgiving. Where a War Machine, you have to think out your turns probably a turn or two in advance as to where your jacks are going to be and how much you're going to allocate to them. In Hordes, it's more of a, okay, so I need this dead. I don't care about allocating at the beginning of my control phase. I can just risk manage it. Worst case scenario, this beast goes ape shit, and I just have to make sure that it's closer to enemy models than it is to friendly models. Yeah. So there is that. There is also the aesthetics. I mean, I prefer the aesthetics of the Horde side of things, and you have less to paint if you're not a hobbyist because your beasts. You have more beasts on the table. instead of more infantry kind of.
Well, I would argue on the side from a hobbyist, I like War Machine as a hobbyist better because I find you're dealing with a lot more flesh, a lot more subtlety. If you were going to go in sort of into the higher level painting, Hordes actually is friggin' harder because suddenly you've got so much subtlety. If you're just gonna wash an ink and do a quick get it on the table, no problem. Absolutely, I agree with you. But painting in War Machine does have the problem of it is still I think a little more unit heavy than Hordes is right now.
Oh god, yes.
You're playing you're pretty much especially if you're playing a Khador, for example.
Well, the
you're
big
pretty
thing
much
about War Machine is that you only because of jack points do you have to have jacks.
Right.
Yeah.
Right? And if you are willing to play 6 points down,
you cannot.
You could theoretically, you can't, in a tournament you can't, but if you wanted to just say, I'm playing 6 points down, you can play without jacks. It would be dumb, but you could do it.
Especially that most of your arc nodes are 6 points.
Yeah, exactly. On the Horde side, on the other hand, you can't play without beasts.
Yeah.
You need beasts to get that through. So Horde's lists are always going to be more
beast heavy
than a War Machine list outside of a couple of factions.
Outside of trolls,
trolls or
even their beasts pretty much look like
convergence on the other side.
So let's move right along then. The next question that always comes up, which is the most powerful faction? So what I'm going to do is instead of you guys saying both say, well, I'm the most powerful faction, or neither of them are more powerful, because the reality is neither of them are more powerful. What I want you to do is I want to reverse this on you. PG Semi-Auto Magic. Why is War Machine more powerful than Hordes? If you want to, I want you to take that side, even if you don't believe it.
That's a really good question. Okay, why is it more powerful than Hordes? That's not. That's the problem. I'm finding it hard to come up with.
Well, I think you've already said it to a certain degree. You talked about...
that's what makes it different, right?
It's a different game. It has its own ups and downs. I think you could defend that. Generally, the casters are a little bit harder to kill overall, especially since they don't have to play as front forward. You can defend it all you want.
Since you have more infantry on the table, you have a bigger imprint on the table.
True.
So you have like in Hordes, you have a tendency of having these big beasts and then having maybe a unit, and your board presence is more with your solos, right? Mm-hmm. Which is I'm just going to pick off that solo, and then you're no longer contesting that flag.
Okay. So there's a perfectly valid reason why it's better. But on the other hand, we know, because monthly somebody complains that Hordes is more powerful.
Oh, absolutely.
So, P.O., tell me why Hordes is more powerful than War Machine.
You're doing the same thing I did.
Shut up, George.
Founder.
No, why it's more powerful? It's easier to learn.
Yeah, there you go.
It's. I think it all boils down to, like you said, it's both are equivalent to one another.
Yeah.
Right now, a lot of people will argue that Hordes is more powerful because of the recent errata. The recent errata says that you can shake all these different effects like blind and whatnot. So Hordes is just I'm playing a lot of beasts instead of a lot of infantry, so fuck you, the nigger too, right? Yeah. So, and stuff like that. So that's why a lot of people, when I had a conversation with Marc-André, he was like, why the hell would I not be playing Hordes at the moment?
Mm-hmm. But that pendulum will swing, it always does.
Oh, it always does. It always does, right? Yeah. So...
I think the reality is we can come down to the basis that it depends on the type of player you are.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
And that's where I'm going to put in my 2 cents, is I think what happens is people push their friend, whoever is coming in, to split the 2-player battle box and whatever faction they're interested in, or whatever you do that gets you into your first faction. Somebody tells you that this faction is more powerful than the other. You get into a faction primarily for the aesthetics, which is arguably not a bad thing because you are going to want to like the models you're playing. But the big thing is do your research and try playing a bunch of the factions first, because there is no this game is relatively well balanced, except for maybe minions.
They're not a faction.
But the reality is that if you find a faction that sings with you, whether it's War Machine or Hordes, if that works for you and makes you happy to play it, that's the best faction for you.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So let's go to the next thing on my list is what do you do? So you've Sorry, that's going back. I don't want to finish. I want to finish. Let's go into the factions themselves now. So we'll start with War Machine, and we'll go. Unfortunately, Maelstrom, you're not going to be able to volunteer much until we get to the Hordes. We'll get you to talk about. We'll get you to talk about Legion, but what I want to do is, it is 8:18 now. I'm giving you each 2 minutes to describe the faction that I showed out to you.
Speed
so
faction.
let's start right at the beginning with
Faction
Hordes.
speed
I
dating.
want you to primary faction for Hordes. I would say the goody good guys are trolls. PO, describe trolls for me.
Okay, trolls are a very synergistic faction. They buff, which means they
Give bonuses.
Thank you, because I am French. English is hard. They give bonuses to themselves, and it's a very order of activation heavy faction. So other than that, it's a very tanky faction. It's one of the only, if not only, faction that can just take a punch on the chin and go like, yeah, I'm still here. Boom. Right back at you. It's one of also the Hordes factions that don't play with a lot of beasts. You know, you have like maybe a heavy beast, but a lot of lists will just have 2 to 3 light beasts on the table, and then that's it. Trolls, unfortunately, is very characterized by a lot of their theme forces at the moment. But the last thing that I would say about trolls is very interesting in a design space because they do not, other than Doomy 3, have any S tier casters. So compared to a lot of factions, you can just go like, here's the army I want to play. Now, what caster supplements this best?
Okay, bang on. We'll move right along. I'd like Maelstrom. Give me a sort of description of Legion for me.
Legion has a lot of their models have eyeless sight, which is good. Ignores stealth. It's great for players who like circle and hiding in forests. A lot of their models have Pathfinder, which is good for ignoring terrain. A lot of them have high movement, so there's a lot of moving around the board, a lot of keeping up for the other guys. They're one of the most shooty factions in Hordes. So you get to shoot some stuff.
And aesthetically, they're big black
And
dragons.
aesthetically, they're a lot of dragons and really cool looking models.
Yeah, awesome.
They may have the prettiest model in the game, the Archangel.
Just because we
Yeah.
have a little bit of extra time left.
Pretty,
Yeah.
but
I do want to add in.
didn't say it was great.
I
I
think
just said it was
trolls are
pretty.
characterized by tough as much as they're.
Oh, yes, I should
have.
Everything
Yeah,
else.
tough
Yeah,
might
tough,
have been a thing
yeah.
about
It's
it.
that thing about being hit on the chin because tough
Playing
means that
against
you
trolls, tough
roll
is a
one
pain in the
die
ass.
and you get to come back and not die.
Yeah, it's on a 5 or 6. Yeah.
And yeah, I think Legion's sort of characterized by the glass cannon. I
Yeah,
guess would
very
be
much.
the way you look at it, and eyeless sight being their big power. But
They
they're
also have flight.
a lot of flight.
A lot of flight.
A whole hell of a lot of flight, which can be very
a lot of
frustrating.
serpents, so they don't a lot of not being knocked down.
All
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
So moving right along, because you're playing Scorn right now, George.
Ooh.
Tell me a bit about,
us about
what is Scorn.
A lot of sadists and masochists running around the board, really. Scorn as a faction tend to be a lot of bruisers. They want to get out there. They want to hit the thing repeatedly until it stops living. They, until recently, didn't have a lot of ranged game. They are starting to get some in with the bugs, which are great. And they will tend to be not quite as beast heavy as Legion, but they will tend to have a bunch of beasts around. There are always, some exceptions. You've got things like Fist of a Lock, which is how much infantry can I cram on the table. I think that's over 300 boxes you have to cut through for Fist or something like that.
It really depends on how you play it, but
Yeah,
yeah.
but it can be upwards of 300 boxes that you have to take down to kill their list. So they tend to just be a big chunk of beef that is just going to come straight at you and punch you in the face. They are not what I would call a subtle faction, but what they do quite well. The problem that you might have if you decide to play Scorn is that if you either don't like doing that one thing they do, or you're looking for something a little more tricksy, that Scorn isn't your friend.
There's just one thing, if you don't mind me adding, is it's an interesting faction because you have different playstyles in it. Like Hordes, like
That's
if
true.
you look at Legion, it's like all about the beasts, right? If you look at Trolls, it's all about the infantry. But Scorn can go either or.
Yeah, you can have a bunch of well, we were talking about the Fist of Alok theme list, or the opposite of that might be Rasheth's theme list, which is a Titan herd.
Yep.
You know?
Right.
Yep.
So I'll take Circle, and I'll probably get a whole bunch of things wrong on that. But Circle are very characterized by the fact that a lot of their units and beasts have Pathfinder, which means that they can just get through all of the stuff. They ignore the terrain on the board in most cases, which is really cool about them. They are fast hitting. But generally can't take it on the chin after they've hit fast. But a lot of what they can do is get away after they've hit. So their game is very much centered around a strike and retreat style of gameplay. They also are very well known for their teleportation jank. So if you're able to think in... If you're the type of person that likes to think in chess moves 2 steps ahead, I say Circle is the closest thing you're going to get to that in Hordes. It's the type of game where you can, if you're the type of person that goes, okay, if he moves that there and I put my stones there, that means I'll be able to teleport this dude right behind his caster and kill him. It's that style of play. Without having the casters be the control casters, a lot of it has to do with the units being part of your control game. Characterized by heavy hitting and being able to run away. I would say, anything you guys want to add?
No, really, the big thing with Circle is the teleportation.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Having instant access to that
Yeah.
throughout the faction. Like, you'll get teleportation on a caster in another faction, maybe. But just having access to it in any list you
And having
do,
having a bunch of your main units be able to do it.
yeah,
for that,
is
for that matter.
just amazing. And it gives a really neat flavor. I like the Angry Druid aesthetic. I really want to see somebody come out of the woodwork with an amazing Cassius list that just goes right to the top.
They're working on that.
Yeah.
Cassius, I think with what's those little frog dudes? I think is where we're gonna see
with
a
the
bunch.
Crow Graders. Yeah.
Crow Graders
That
is
and the
top.
Bone Grinders.
Anything with the
Yeah,
Crow
Bone
Graders.
Grinders, Crow Graders. Okay, so now we just have the one that's not a faction, which is Minions.
Yeah, I used to play Minions.
Yeah,
Minty
so
is gonna freak out.
so you're saying it's not a faction, but
Yep.
let's say, and so I think we can honestly
Alright,
say right to the
alright.
person who's a new player, Minions probably not a good idea because you're
Nope.
extremely limited.
Not when
Yes.
you're starting
Not
out.
when you're starting.
There are certain factions that I would say to people, are you really want to sure that you want to play this game on hard mode from the beginning?
Yeah.
I would say to most people, play it through on easy mode, pick one of these factions. Then once you've got a little bit of experience, if you want to try out hard mode, try Minions.
Yeah. Okay.
Well-
so describe what the Minion style gameplay is to me, Pio.
Okay, well, Minions has access to the best heavy infantry in the game. It's called
Absolutely.
Gatorman Posse. They have 2 attacks each. They each have different prayers that either gives them terror, more defense, Pathfinder, whatnot.
They get into combat and they suddenly get harder.
Oh god, they also have unyielding.
Oh my god.
So
Go
they
fuck itself.
Oh yeah. They have, you know, like in combat, they're armor 18. They have freaking 8 boxes, yada yada yada. Wow. They also have
take those in
a
Legion, by the way.
very very interesting unit, which is the Crow Craters now, which is a fucking bonkers unit, especially with Vinter Pandrake. They can just deal with hordes like nobody's business. But their playstyle is kind of limited. It's
Because there's different cartels, and I think each one of those plays slightly differently.
Well,
So-
there's the pigs,
Yeah.
which is more of an infantry faction, except for Arcadius's tier.
Yeah.
And well, I think when you say, you know, Minions is not a faction, people just think of pigs because pigs, fuck 'em.
Yeah.
All right, so I mean, it's bacon. Everybody likes bacon, but it's not cool once it gets to the table because it just gets eaten. Compared to the Croaks,
The Crocs, yeah.
Yeah,
the
Minty's
Crocs.
popping shit right.
what?
Minty's on them.
Oh yeah.
Popping his shit.
And I mean, I've lost to good Minion players.
Oh,
I'm not-
God, there's-
especially when you get Gators on those tables. There's that. I want to say, who is it that just gets to walk his entire force forward without you being able to hit them? Because they're all standing in the water.
Yeah.
Oh, it's Barnabas.
Yeah.
Barnabas,
Yeah.
like fuck Barnabas.
Yeah, well, but there's Barnabas. There's also like Malok has fucking interesting gameplays because he has revive, right? So you can get your units into like, so your enemy forgets about revive and then he lets go of a flag because that unit of posse only has 1 member left, and he's like, Yeah, so I'm just going to revive 2 of them. They're going to run to the flag, and I win.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you have some really interesting things.
Ambushing troops.
Ambushing troops are very good.
Right.
The Bull Snapper makes, +2 armor with spiny growth on armor 18 models. Yes, please.
The one thing I was going to say, we'll just wrap this one up because we need to move on. War Machine, we've talked about minions more than we should have. The one thing that is good about becoming the one thing that is great about minions is that you can put a large amount of their infantry into another list in another faction later.
Yeah.
Which is great when you think about it, because most new players are probably not, unless they love their faction right off the top and for the rest of their lives stick with it, unless you become hardcore about it, you're probably going to switch factions in 6 to 8 months. If you get into the game as heavily as some of us do. And what happens is at least with minions, you're not stuck with an entire faction you're never going to play again. You'll have a few things that will still apply.
It's more true of mercenaries.
Yeah, it's way more true of
yeah, you're right with
But that would be the only thing I would add to it. All right, so let's go into War Machine because we've covered that. Sorry, we've covered the hordes. So let's start right up at the top. Well, I guess I won't do Signar. I'll do that later because I just talked. Let's go to COC. Tell me about the giant white penises.
You really want to get the cock out there right away?
Let's get the cock out there right away.
So we were just talking.
George is an expert with his cock.
Well, yeah, we were just talking about how minions, hard mode minions. COC is also what I would say is hard mode.
Yep.
It isn't as hard mode as trying to win with minions, I would say, but it does not follow a lot of the rules of everybody else.
True.
So you don't want to start off not knowing what to do. We got a question?
No, I just want a beer.
Oh, okay. So COC is characterized by being extremely jack heavy compared to everybody else. They can literally take lists with no infantry and that be perfectly okay. They are also one of the factions that makes the best use out of their Colossal.
And battle engine.
And their battle engine.
Yeah, so
they have an amazing battle engine.
If you want to play huge base things, it's not a bad idea.
If you want the smallest thing in your army to be your large-based caster, that is something you can do in Convergence.
Right.
And not be uncompetitive. Like, everybody could do that, but outside of one Cray list I could think of, nobody else does it like COC.
Well,
right?
I think the biggest thing that we can characterize COC about is, yes, you're going to have a ton of jacks, but the other thing is, the focus mechanic is completely different.
Yes.
It's a whole different game where you don't generally run out of focus the same way.
And they don't have cortexes.
Yes.
So you get to ignore a lot of those rules. So if that's the kind of faction you want to play, but it's extremely limited because you can't use minions, or you can't use mercs, can't use minions.
And they're what we call a micro faction. Yeah. So they have all been released. We know they are getting exactly one new model. We don't even know when that's coming. So don't get into that faction thinking that it's something that's going to keep evolving. It's going to have different play styles over time. No, it's out. And you can learn everything about the faction. It's great if you're a collector and have OCD because you can buy the entire faction and then be done.
Yeah.
Right?
And then sell it and then rebuy and then sell it.
Yeah, exactly. But that's just what you do.
Yeah, true.
So so I would say that's a really good...
I would say that goes into our sort of like probably not a faction you want to start out on because it doesn't play the game the way that the rule book says, and it's gonna you're limited, very limited.
Absolutely.
All right, so let's move right into the bane of all of our existence, Crix.
So
tell me a bit about Crix and give me sort of the
nice wordplay.
What is the play style? If y'all wanted to be, I'm a new player. I'm like Crix looks cool. What do they play like?
Crix harder. Crix harder. Crix different. Crix has a lot of infantry. They are not categorized by their jacks other than the fact that their jacks are Arcnos, and they are fucking cheap. They're like 4 points Arcnos, right? They are a very, very fast, depending on the list that you play, faction. And they have a lot of recursion. Recursion being that when living models or certain models called Mechanothrals die, the Necrosurgeons, which is like a key model or a key unit in Crix, will just regenerate or add to Mechanothral units. They hit like a fucking ton of bricks. They have no range or close to no range elements other than in the mercs. So generally speaking, you do not want to play this game, this faction, if you get disheartened by losing models, because you will lose half of your army on the way there. However, the other half that is left is more than capable to just wipe the board
because
with
they'll
whatever.
just keep bringing shit back.
Yeah, and they are categorized by the faction with the deepest stable of powerful casters. I mean, they have the Negra 1, which is their battle box caster, which I just do not understand. She is ball busting good.
Yeah.
I mean, when you look at it, one of their worst casters is Venetrax, right? And when you look at Venetrax in other factions, he would be just ball busting good.
Yeah. And I think the only other comment that you can make is if you are really into death metal, you're either going to choose Legion or you're going to choose Crix, because they are your skull headbanging.
If you're coming from GW and you're really missing having a skull on everything, if you get into Crix, at least you're going to have some models with skulls on them.
A lot of models.
The other thing that's cool about Crix that I would throw in, especially as a Signar player, is there's so much that's stealthed. It's annoying as shit because you get to walk up the board, and if somebody's just holding a gun line in your face, you just get to ignore that until the game actually starts, which is when you get
within 5 inches of the other guy.
Inches of you.
That, and they're a very trick-oriented faction, right? Like, they have casters that just regenerate their units. So it's about like, so if I regenerate some of my troops further up the way, and then I kill my unit leader to promote the guy that's at the top of the chain, and then I add more troops, so then I my threat range went from 10 inches to like 16.
So a lot of synergies and a lot of but those are generally fairly obvious when you look at the caster what it's there to do, I'd say, in most cases.
God, no. You need to you need to be like,
you still got to do your research.
You still got to do your research.
All right, so I'll take Signar. I would say if you want shooty robots, if you love the steampunk aesthetic, there's really only
and want to call lightning down from the sky upon your
which has become so secondary to that faction, I think. Although it's starting to come back in, but I mean, really, they were all about the lightning before. But then the lightning kind of teetered off because they've really become known as the ultimate gunline faction. Yeah. I'd say, with Haley 2's nerf, they don't have some of they used to have the best caster in the game, but they still have one of the best casters in the game. And they're one of the first factions out there, so they tend to have the most stuff. And generally, they get access to everything in Mercs and Minions on top of all of that. No, there's a bunch of shit. Close too, but it seems like every book that comes out, you get something for Signar. Even this last book for Hordes had, I want to say, 3 new models that were usable, a unit and a new model that were usable by Signar.
2 units and a model and a soul.
It's ridiculous, though. I mean, if you want to have all the choices in the world, it's perfect. I would say the reason not to go Signar off the top is because you have all the choices in the world and it's not cut and dry. There are 3 solid playstyles within Signar. One is the sort of movement game that you can play in Signar. One is the lightning game you can play in Signar, which is a denial game as well. And the last but not least, the shooty gunline game you can play in Signar. And it takes some time to figure out which one of those you want to play. And then by the time you've made that decision, you've bought 16 models that you're not going to use.
I would say Signar is the easiest faction to go down the wrong path. It's one of the easiest factions to get a bunch of stuff that won't go together. COC or Crix. With COC, you just can't because it's so limited. Like you can't buy stuff that doesn't go together because that all goes together. And then Crix, they have so many turd polishers that a lot of the stuff, it's like, maybe that's suboptimal, but it's still going to work. And then Signar, you buy like Nemo and Sword Knights,
which you thought were really cool,
and these things don't go together, right?
Well, the thing with Signar is a very combined arms faction, right? It's more range oriented, but I mean, even their melee hard hitters like the Storm Lances and the Storm Knights. I mean, they all have assault with lightning and Electro Leap and bullshit.
And again, there's a lot of those synergies that you take forever. There's a lot of those synergies that take a while to figure out.
Oh, absolutely.
And you don't realize right off the bat that, hey, those Stormclads are amazing as long as I have one unit of Storm Knights or in that list. And it's like, oh, well, suddenly I've got jacks that always have focus on them. Oh, this is a different game. So we'll leave off Signar for there because there's still a lot more factions to talk about. Let's go to Retribution of Sira, PG Semi-Auto Magic.
Oh, Ret. Another, shall we say, hard mode faction.
Oh, absolutely.
Ret are quite powerful, but they're one of those things where everything, the moons have to align for them to do really well. You have to have really good eye for placement. You have to have really good eye for synergy. They are the most, I would say, location-dependent faction. Where you physically put models on the table matters, I would say, as much as your list, as what you brought. Like, just getting everything in the right place. Now, when everything is when all the gods line up in the correct places, you press button and win game.
Yeah.
Like, they just, they have this really strange ability to do nothing, then remove your army one turn without you noticing. And it's like, oh, crap, I have nothing less. How did that happen?
And they're also one of the newer War Machine factions, so they don't, like, they're
not
just
deep.
coming into their own right now.
Yeah, they're not as deep. And people always ask me why I warn people off of Retribution right off the top, and I'd say, well, they're a complicated game style, and most people get into them because they're really into anime and they want to play angry elves with giant eyes, and they think, oh, that's such a pretty faction, and you're absolutely right.
Oh my god,
the problem with it is it's another one of those factions, and I'd say, in my mind, even more so than COC, where it's really hard to win for a long time. You just have to, like, you're going to look great, and you will get a few wins when the stars align, but it's got a big learning curve before you just start.
As I said, it's a hard mode faction.
Yeah, unless you play Force Wall, and then, you just get to win. So let's move on. We've got 2 more factions, I think, left. Yep. We've got Khador. So tell me
have Khador, Protectorate, and Mercs.
Right. So we've got about Mercs. So because they're not a faction.
Oh, hey,
that's in with
my Mercs are a faction.
My Simpletons are a faction. All right, so I'm going to leave this to you, PO. Tell me about Khador.
Okay, Khador is another combined range faction, combined arms faction, but they're more melee oriented. You go to Khador for the Jacks, and you get highly disappointed very quickly because their Jacks, they're fucking slow. And they don't have, like, almost all their casters are focus starved. By that I mean they will use their focus to cast all their spells. Their casters are amazing at buffing already fucking amazing troops, right? Like, they have access to a lot of Iron Flesh, which is +3 defense, which, combined with Kayazi Assassin makes for defense 19 melee troops. I mean, it's pretty hard to deal with. They have some pretty hard-hitting troops as well in the Iron Fight Pikemen, Black Dragons. They have very interesting theme forces. Again, Butcher 2 with the Doom Reavers, and the Doom Reavers are such pain in the asses to remove, right?
In the Winter Guard, there's just is it the Winter Guard that are impossible to take off the frickin' board because ridiculously high defense.
It's called the Death Star, right? Because they have an order that it's called Bob and Weave, gives them +2 defense, and then with the Iron Flesh gives them another +3, so they're defense 17 with tough,
right? Because
of Grigorovich, yeah, which is also affected by his speeches, by the way, Khador players. So yeah, they're an interesting faction right now. A lot of Khador players are saying that they lack a lot of tools. Because, like, take against Signar, which has a lot of, like, I'm just going to put, like, AoEs on the table, and if you go there, you die.
Yeah, especially against a giant infantry list. Yeah.
Exactly. So they're kind of lacking tools. But again, with the recent errata, Butcher 3 with all the Jacks becomes totally legit, right?
So I think they're the people's army. If you want to play the people, and you don't mind or either not painting or you don't mind painting 300 units, they are the faction for you. Okay, so. Moving over there, big guy. Tell me a bit about Menoth, because your wife plays Menoth.
So the crazy religious zealots love to run across the board and set things on fire. They have this unit of models that just makes all their Jacks awesome, which is really great. So if you want to play slow beater Jacks that could theoretically actually get there, Menoth is a really great unit. They have some amazing units as well. They have things like the Bastions, which are reach weapon masters that can just share damage in the unit. So they make them very hard to remove. They have a lot of very strong casters that can do some pretty amazing things. They have a lot of units that have interesting rule sets on them. So they have units that get better as they die. They have units that just can't die for a turn. They have there's a lot of interesting diversity in their models, and they can run jacks as well. They're a good all-round faction. It's definitely a faction that I would say is a good starter faction.
Well, there's a reason why it comes in the starter box.
Yeah.
The other thing I would say that's great about Menoth that most people aren't prepared for the first time they play against it is they're the best denial game.
Yeah.
They take all of your plans and fuck with them for the first 3 rounds generally. You can't... So, don't worry, I'll just hit them with... Nope, can't do that. Okay, well then I'll use... No, you can't do that either. Oh, well then I'll run. No, you can't run. It's like you just do a whole bunch of like, fuck you, Menoth, fuck you, and then you have to completely change your plan.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of game you want to play. If you want to be an asshole,
that's a good game.
If you want to be a religious zealot asshole. Okay, so we'll do. There's one last faction. We'll just do it quickly because Mercs play 3 different. There are 3 different sort of main groups in there. There's pirates. If you want to play pirates who are tough, well, yeah, there's a lot more, but dwarves who are just. Dwarves. They're dwarves. They're slow, heavy hitters that are hard to kill because their arm is super high. And then you have the nasty undead evil robot guys, or evil Dr. Frankenstein style dudes. So if you want to play big, heavy hitting monstrosities with a crazy control game, then you look at Cephalix. But we can go into a little bit more detail, P.O., because we've got a whole minute to sort of describe why do I want to play Mercs.
They have the best freaking colossals in the game. I mean, they have the Earthbreaker and they have the Galleon. Also, they have the best Warcaster, which is called Thor. It's actually a solo that boosts like the fucking Earthbreaker to 11. What's interesting with Mercs is that it will, if you're not sure which War Machine faction that you want to play, pick up Mercs. Like, you pick up 1 or 2 casters, you pick up one of the Colossals that goes with it, and then you pick up a lot of units. And it'll either work for Khador, it'll either work for Signar, some work for Menoth as well. So, I mean, if you're not sure which of the 3, and some work for Crix as well. So if you're not sure one of the main 4 factions, which is Crix, Menoth, Signar, and Khador, might as well start with Mercs. And because you will reuse those models, right?
Yeah, and they're the place that all the really neat solos live.
Oh, absolutely.
It's where you get all the... I would say it's the most flavorful of the factions. It is literally where all the cool solos that you see in everybody's lists hang out.
If you want to play competitively, however, Mercs are a little harder because you have to have the width and breadth of all the faction, right? Because they have... Like, most of Mercs is characters, so they're restricted to the 1 list. So to build competitive lists, you need almost all of Mercs.
Yeah.
So.
All right, so let's leave that behind. We've given a nice overview of all the different factions. We've given some people things to think about for each faction and the reason why they play them. And let's move right on to faction ADD.
It's a serious disease, folks.
It's a serious disease.
It's an affliction.
So what we term as faction ADD is certain players out there, especially the ones who are older like us, that have a stable income, have the time, they get out a couple days a week to play. What happens to some people is they get this disease that they can't make a decision, so they just get everything.
I blame Mike Bialak. I think he is the person that spread this disease.
Yeah.
I take no responsibility whatsoever.
I've heard that about you.
So why we want to talk about faction ADD is not to chastise those that have it, but I want to talk a bit about the benefit.
Try and help those people.
There is no helping
because
these people.
The best part about it is we all get cheaper armies because of them.
Yes, that is absolutely true.
Fuck you guys.
The best part about having 2 to 4 players in our meta with super high faction ADD is that we have this rule, which is I was thinking about switching to this army, and maybe I'll go out and buy it that week. And somebody will be like, no, dude, just wait a month. P.O. will have his for sale.
Oh, fuck you.
Hey, dude,
Okay, no, but no. A lot of okay. Well, a lot of this, however, is that I have a huge network of contacts, and like take the circle that I just recently sold, right?
Yeah.
This guy basically freaking godfathered me. He went like, here's like almost all of Signar and all of Circle for $600, and I was like, yeah, done. So then I just resold the Signar and the Circle because I was not interested in it. And people are like, "Oh, you have such faction EDD." I'm like, "Fuck you guys! I just made $1,000. Come shove it up your ass."
Yeah, I was one of the people that bought those, so you probably shouldn't talk too loud. But anyway, what do we want to talk about though? Is let's not talk about the affliction.
Yes,
because there's different reasons. I'd say Bilak might have it for a different reason, which is he can't make up his mind, and he looks at, but that guy has this better. The grass is greener over there. I'm going to switch to that.
Yeah.
But what really, there is a huge benefit to having faction ADD. Or to at least playing a bunch of different factions. So I'm going to throw this out to you, George. Let's talk a bit about the strategy behind switching factions a few times during your gaming life.
Well, switching factions only a few times in, say, a 7 to a 10 year period is not what I would call faction ADD.
No.
That is quite normal and something that everybody should do. Do not focus in too heavily on a single faction. Sure, playing it for 3 or 4 years is definitely going to give you a really good, if not a mastery, then a really good comfort level with a faction.
Absolutely.
But you definitely don't want to just get so zoomed in on a faction that you never see all the other tricks out there.
Yeah.
One of the great things about the faction ADD we're talking about switching factions significantly more often, say once every 6 months or once a year. The fact is that with that type of switch rate, you're seeing all the different play styles in all the different factions. Now, you may not get good with those play styles, but what you'll get is that first-hand knowledge of, first of all, do I like this play style myself? Second of all, you'll learn where the holes in that play style are, so that when you have to then go fight against that, you'll go, man, I really hate it when someone is able to scalpel out my stones in Circle. That really sucks. I'm going to get rid of his stones. That's the first thing I kill. You know?
Yeah.
And it gives you that sort of an insider's view of each of the different factions.
Absolutely, and I think in order to become a decent high-level tournament player, you need to have that knowledge. You need and just reading it on the cards will never give you that knowledge. But there are ways to play other factions without buying in. Some of us can afford to do that, or some of us have a great network where we can pull times like that in our lives. But one of the things I would recommend is every once in a while, we in our meta, in our small little Elmont meta, what we've done a few times is said, you know what? I'm not playing this week.
Try it.
George, here you go. Oh, cool. I wasn't playing this week. Will, here you go. And then make your own lists and do your research. And then suddenly you can have a couple of weeks, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or playing a journeyman league or whatever, where you get a chance to play through a faction, play a few of the different casters, and get a feel for the style. In most cases, going with the journeyman is a great way to do it because those boxes are generally iconic to that play style. So if you're playing a sticks and stones circle play style, or if you're playing a beast heavy cut and run play style, those casters are encapsulated in the journeyman box set. So you get an experience.
Another good way to not get as visceral an experience, but to at least get models on a virtual table, is using some of the virtual tabletop software. Of course, Vassal is the big one. There are others hanging in the wings, but generally you can find a Vassal game any night of the week. You just post on the forum, say, hey, I'm looking for a game. And though Vassal has a very steep learning curve, and then there's the learning curve of War Machine, what you get from actually learning how to use Vassal is the ability to use every model in the game immediately. You don't have to worry about purchasing them. And the ability to do it
from the comfort of your own computer desk.
Yeah.
So you can play 2 or 3 opponents in a night because you don't have to have an hour to the game shop, an hour back from the game shop. You don't have to
Yeah, you
have
guys live in Elma.
all that stuff going on around you.
Yeah.
So it is a really good way to get more games in. I know when I was talking to Marc Andre about how many games he plays a week, he was saying that he'd get between 3 to 5 physical games in a week, but he'll probably play 1 to 2 games every night on Vassal, and that's how he gets in a lot more games, so that he can get in the 10 games a week that it takes to be competitive.
So when we talk about playing other factions, we're not locking you into going in and buying an entire faction or even
No,
buying
of
an
course not.
entire list. There are way better ways to do it. And other
yes.
things that we can talk about is we got 2 PGs here in the room. I can also, at most times, if I've run into one of you guys have a few battle boxes on you. And if I just want to try the battle boxes at a 15-point quick game on a 2x2, that wouldn't hurt to ask the PG.
No,
if I could.
absolutely.
If you want to try a faction, get a hold of your local PG and say, I want to try this battle box. If they don't have it, 50% of the time they'll go out and buy it because they don't have it. But the rest of the time they'll just say to somebody else in the meta, hey, can I grab these 4 models off you?
Yeah.
And you guys get to play around and try that out. The PGs are there as a resource for you as the player. Please don't feel that you're wasting our time or something. We're here for you guys. That's what we're out here for.
All right, gentlemen, our time is up on
Yeah.
our topic, which means it's time for...
Lightning round?
The lightning round.
It's time for the lightning round. 10 of the hardest questions in War Machine.
Dun, dun,
And,
dun.
of course,
Oh
the
no!
minty fresh question of the week. So, the way that this game works, if you haven't played it before, is if you're on the chat with Maelstrom, as quickly as you can, type in what you think is the answer. Unfortunately, you've got about a 3-minute lag half the time, so you won't get in before these guys. But you have to buzz in to answer, and I will not accept an answer unless you've gone and then I will choose the person that said it first.
You will lose points.
It's generally 1 point per question unless I say otherwise. And the winner has to buy me a beer. Okay, so question number 1. Which faction does the Basilisk Drake belong to?
Scorn.
It is Scorn.
Damn it.
Question number 2. Who has the feat Conquest?
Kidor.
No.
Oh!
It's Captain Damiano. Captain Damiano is the answer.
Says the Mercs.
Mercs aren't a faction. What?
I thought,
What? Hey, they are a faction.
What'd you say?
Fuck.
Question number 3. If my weapon is a pair of prosthetic manipulators, what faction am I in?
Well, Mercs, but Cephalix.
Cephalix is the
specifically.
answer. I was going to accept about 2 points for getting both answers. All right.
Oh, I suck at this.
How big is a standard trench supposed to be, according to the rule books?
Ooh,
3x2. 3x2.
3x2 is incorrect.
5x3?
It is 5x3.
Damn it.
5x3.
were you reading that off of?
Nowhere.
Question number
I
5.
know what 5 inches looks like.
Which faction? Which faction can boast having the Warcaster Sturgis? Ooh.
I said it twice.
Theo.
Once for each sturgeon.
Well, you got Signar for the Prime faction, and then you got Crix for the Epic.
2 points for getting both
Yay.
factions. Question number 6. If my battle engine has a scatter gunner in his weapon seat, what faction is I? I'll have to go with P.O. on that one. He was a little faster.
Trollblood.
No.
You got a scattergun.
It is Trollblade. It is Trollblade. Sorry. Just a moment of confusion. Sorry, I was just looking for my answer and I hadn't written it down. Because that's how sick I am right now. Question number 7. What is the FA on Croak Raiders? P.O. again.
2.
It is 2. P.O.'s taking the lead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's catching up. After saying I'm terrible at this
He's
game.
just going like pity fuck.
Question number 8. What is the POW on Denegra the Soul Weaver's ranged weapon?
She has a ranged weapon.
10.
It is 10.
Yeah,
She has a ranged weapon?
She has a range spray.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, you're never gonna use it.
I can't.
That's because she has a rat of 4.
P.O. has pulled in the lead. So, question number 9. If my animus is Rights of Dawn, what faction am I?
Confused?
Rights of Dawn?
I'm gonna say circle.
It is circle.
Nice.
It sounded like a circle
Yeah, it
thing.
sounded like a circle thing. That's why I made sure that it wasn't ridiculously hard. If you thought about it, you could probably get it. All right, it's time for the Minty Fresh question of the week. This is worth all dem points if you get it right.
I don't have
about
money for a
10
beer,
points.
so you might as well.
Don't worry, they're in the fridge. It just means you have to reach for one. Which book did Hutchuk first appear in?
Which book did he?
Ah!
No, which
Which
book did
book?
he?
Oh,
did
which
he first
book?
appear in? So, PO's out. George, you buzzed in second.
Oh my god.
The Iron Kingdom's role-playing game.
No, it isn't. It isn't. I know that.
I still win, so I have to reach for a
I'm
beer.
going to say Witchfire.
No, it was Into the Storm, which is also the same one that Salvio first appeared in. Acosta first appeared in. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is it for this week's show. I hope you enjoyed it.
Oh.
Thank you. Sorry, we have a question.
No question. I just want to say Brad won on points on the stream.
Yay,
He
Brad!
had like 11 points.
Wow,
Ridiculous.
Brad's kicking some serious ass.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
8 maybe.
I want to thank P.O., our guest, for coming in this week.
Thank you,
and
P.O.
You're welcome.
Teaching, laying down some knowledge.
Please come back.
I'm not that pretty, bro.
So, there's places that you can find this. Death Clock has 60 Minutes. You can find us on Facebook. Just type in Moose Machine and you'll find us. You can find us on Twitch under PG_semi-automagic. We broadcast live every Wednesday night, and hopefully, as the winter starts encroaching, we'll start having live casts of us playing every second Friday. Once again,
Ooh.
YouTube, of course, you can find our YouTube channel once again under George Schweitzer, I believe.
Yep.
If you look up Moose Machine, you'll find us there. You can also find a ton of past games from a ton of different tournaments and all of our past episodes. And
CGX
you
games should be going up this week.
Perfect. And if you
Nice.
look up Moose Machine on SoundCloud or iTunes, you'll find all the podcasts, which we try to get up the next day, give or take, depending on how slow we are most of the time. We've been pretty good. We've been pretty good. George, are there any events coming up?
Our next event is the Devastation event on the 24th. That's our release event here in Ottawa. And then the next in our tournament series is...
which store?
I believe that one's at Fandom 2.
I'm pretty sure it is.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And then I believe FDB on November 7th is the next one here. And then November 21st in Kingston.
Yeah. Oh, and don't forget that there is the painting competition coming up at FTB.
That's on the 17th, correct?
That's this weekend coming
It's
up.
this-
And I'm
it's
pretty
this
sure
Saturday.
that on the 28th of October, there is an event in Montreal.
Isn't that Castle Dick? Aren't they full?
I'm not sure.
I
Okay.
don't know, but you can learn all about that if you look up the OGWC Facebook page. That stuff is all posted there. Thank you very much, everybody. I am Mift Korax.
Semi-automatic.
And over there is...
Maelstrom.
We'll see you next week. Dice down, everybody. Now let it stream for a little bit.
Let it stream.
Let it stream.
Oh,
Let it
for
stream.
some reason
You can
Let
stop
it
recording
stream.
anytime.
for some reason last week we lost like
Recording is
the last
done.
2
Yeah,
minutes.
we lost like 10 minutes in the middle of the fucking recording.
Really?
Oh,
the
it
middle
was the
of the-
shitty transmit rate.
Oh, in the middle of the recording we lost it?
Well, it's not middle, it's
That's-
near the end.
No,
Anyway.
no, we lost like the last 5 minutes of
Yeah.
stream. It was weird.
I'm hungry.
No.
Isn't the
Too much
28th
Jason.
Castle Dick?
No, I think Chaos Legic was last weekend.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's
So
it's
what is
either
the next one? It's on the 28th. What is it?
it's just a steamroller.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's
I
it's
can't
probably
go-
at l'Abyss or
No,
the
it can't be
beginner.
the 28th because that weekend is the 31st.
Brad came back.
Oh, then it's the 28th of November.
Dumbass.
Hey, I said I think October.
No, because it won't be the 28th because I happen to know because I'm going to the States on the 31st, which is a Saturday.
Okay.
Oh, you're sick too, aren't you?
So
Oh my god, so sick. You guys are all getting this shit.
I already got it. November.
got it from
If it's
George.
November 28th.
Becky told me
Yeah,
not to
it's
make
November
out, but
28th.
Okay, it's November 28th. Cool.
Yeah.
I was like,
I want
need
to try and go to
get my niece
that.
some beer,
I want to go and
so-
talk to their PG. Because,
I need to
PGs.
trim
Yeah.
some beard, I
well,
said.
I want to get us and Aggie and them
My
together
travel beard.
so that what we can do is we can all
How does that work
advertise
in hot
everybody's
countries,
events
though?
in
It's
all
not
the
bad, 'cause it keeps
cities.
me from
Yeah,
burning half
Because
my
we,
face.
I suppose.
we
Hi,
have,
George.
hello, we have
See?
successfully.
Sometimes you gotta trim yourself some beard.
Uh,
we've successfully got
Jesus Christ.
Kingston people coming to Ottawa, Ottawa people going to Kingston.
Yeah.
But what we don't have is Montreal people coming to Ottawa and Ottawa people going to Montreal.
Well, I went to
Bye, Brad.
Bye, Brad. Paul and I went to last event in
Montreal.
In Montreal. Yeah. Yep.
So, I am not here next week.
Okay.
Be prepared for that. I may or may not be here the following week, depending on whether I get pulled into this next trip.
Okay.
So you've got at least next week if you want to do one.
Yep, definitely. Well, we might do. We might try the 50 points in 50 minutes to see if we can get that done.